My name is Mohini Frank. I'm 33, a biomedical engineer living in Austin. My life isn't glamorous, but it's steady, predictable even. I've built it piece by piece, like every careful calculation I've ever made. Numbers make sense. People don't, especially the one I love. 3 days ago, I sat in my doctor's office holding a manila folder that suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. The words still echo in my head. Benign tumor. He said it calmly, assured me it was treatable. Surgery within 3 weeks. Minimally invasive, quick recovery. I nodded, pretending to understand, but all I could hear was the part where he said, "You'll need someone around for a few days afterward." For the first time in years, I was the one who needed help. When I got home that evening, Liam was in his element, sitting in front of his camera, recording yet another Mindset Monday episode for his YouTube channel. His voice echoed through our apartment, rich and confident. "Success isn't about what happens to you," he told the lens. "It's about how you perform when life tests your priorities." I waited until he finished before I spoke. "Liam," I said softly, "can we talk for a second?" He turned around, still half in influencer mode, flashing me that rehearsed warmth. "Sure, babe. What's up?" "I just came from this doctor." I tried to keep my voice even. "They found a tumor. It's benign, but I need surgery, 3 weeks from now." For a long second, he didn't react. Then his expression shifted, not fear or sympathy, just inconvenience. "When exactly?" "April 21st. He blinked. "That's the week of my Scottsdale retreat." I frowned. "Your retreat?" He swiveled back to his laptop, scrolling through emails. "Yeah, the Elevate Men's Summit. I'm hosting. Booked for months. I can't just cancel that, Mo. People are flying in for me." I felt the floor tilt slightly under my feet. "I'll need someone home for at least the first few days, just to help with the basics." He sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Mo, you're strong. It's not even cancer, right? You'll be fine." The words sliced cleaner than any scalpel. He picked up his planner and started flipping through it like we were discussing a rescheduled gym session. "Let me see if I can move my flight." But I saw it in his eyes. He wasn't considering it. His retreat, his image, his audience. Those came first. They always did. That night, I sat on the couch watching him pack lighting equipment and protein powder into shiny silver suitcases. My abdomen throbbed from the painkillers, but I stayed quiet. I didn't want to fight. I wanted him to choose me without being asked. Instead, when I finally whispered, "I just need someone home for the first few days," he spun around, eyes sharp. "You're being manipulative, Mo. You always need something right when I have something important." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Then the silence confirmed it. Something inside me, that small, foolish faith I'd been protecting, cracked. I didn't argue, didn't cry. I just nodded and said, "You're right, I'll figure it out." He mumbled something about manifesting positive recovery energy and went back to organizing tripods. I watched the ring light glow in the reflection of our living room window, and for the first time, it didn't look like light. It looked like an interrogation lamp. Around midnight, as I was lying awake, there was a knock on my door. My neighbor Marlene stood there in her robe, her gray hair pulled into a bun. "Sweetheart, I couldn't help but overhear. Are you all right?" I hesitated, then told her about the surgery. Her eyes softened immediately. "I used to be a nurse," she said. "If you need someone to drive you or stay nearby afterward, I've got time." That's the thing about kindness, like it always shows up quietly. 2 days later, Liam left for Arizona. Before stepping into his Uber, he kissed the top of my head and said, "Stay positive, babe. You're going to come out of this stronger. I'll send healing energy your way." I watched him drive off with his ring lights and duffel bags labeled with his initials. The moment his car turned the corner, the apartment fell still, and it was the most peaceful it had felt in months. The next morning, I went to my pre-op appointment alone. When the nurse handed me a clipboard and said, "We'll just need your emergency contact," my hand froze midair. I stared at the empty line for a long time before writing, "Marlene O'Hara." When the nurse glanced at the name and then back at me, she didn't ask any questions. She just gave a small, knowing smile. I smiled back weakly, but inside I felt something twist, like my heart finally catching up to a truth it had been avoiding. When the person you love shows you exactly where you rank in their life, you can't unsee it. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed with the pre-op folder in my lap, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the faint tick of the hallway clock. Every sound in the apartment seemed louder without his presence, and yet, somehow, everything finally made sense. Liam was always teaching men to prioritize their purpose. I just never realized his purpose didn't include me. As I turned off the light, I told myself something I hadn't said in a long time. You'll be okay, Mohini, with or without him. And for the first time, I almost believed it. The morning of surgery tasted like metal. Hospitals always smell like someone tried to bleach away fear, but the fear is stubborn. It clings to the grout and settles into your chest. I signed forms with trembling hands while fluorescent lights hummed above me like bees trapped in a jar. When the intake nurse asked about my emergency contact, I pointed to the form I'd already filled out. Marlene O'Hara, she read, eyes flicking up. She here? She will be, I said. She's reliable. Good choice. The nurse's badge read Camille. Her gaze had that calm that only comes from having seen everything twice. We'll take good care of you. Marlene arrived a few minutes later, cheeks pink from the morning air, carrying a canvas tote that said, "Be nice or leave." I packed ginger candies, a heating pad, and a terrible mystery novel, she announced, as if we were going to a lake house. She squeezed my hand. You're not alone, kiddo. Something unspooled in my chest, gratitude braided with shame. I had wanted Liam's hand in mine. I had wanted his voice. Instead, I got the kind of care that doesn't post itself. The anesthesiologist went over the plan. My surgeon, a compact woman whose eyes were steady as a spirit level, drew a small X near my incision site and said, "We'll be in and out. 45 minutes to an hour. You'll do great." I nodded like a good student. As the gurney wheels began to roll, my phone buzzed once on the tray. A text from Liam. Boarding now. Manifesting a smooth op. Send me a pic when you're out. A picture of me. After surgery. I turned the screen face down. Recovery was a soft, ragged shoreline. Sleep lapping at me and retreating again. I woke to a ceiling grid and a cotton mouth, pain dulled to a distant room down the hall. The clock said 1:13 p.m. The room said after. A nurse voice said, "Hi, sweetheart, you're okay," and I drifted under again. When I surfaced properly, Camille was there, scanning the monitor with tidy efficiency. Vitals are good. Pain? Manageable, I croaked. She adjusted the IV and smiled. You did well. A rumble of voices drifted in from the corridor. Phones ringing, carts squeaking. Then Camille's desk phone rang, directly outside my door. Her tone went professional, neutral. Post-op, this is Camille. A beat. Her face didn't change, but her eyes sharpened. I'm sorry, sir. We can only confirm that the patient is receiving appropriate care. For specifics, you'll need to speak with the patient directly. Another pause. I could hear a man's voice, agitated, bleeding through the hall. My audience, update, liability, statement. Yes, Camille said evenly. She is resting. She listened, then, no, we don't provide statements for social media. A click, then the clack of the receiver. She came in a moment later and set her tablet down. Your boyfriend called the nurse's station, she said without preamble. Wanted a statement for his followers. I explained the policy. Heat flushed my face, equal parts embarrassment and something like fury trying to learn my name. He didn't ask how I am? Camille's mouth pinched at the corners. He asked for wording. The IV pump clicked. Somewhere in the hallway, a TV squawked the weather. Inside me, a quiet recalibration. The needle on a compass swinging away from a north it had trusted for too long. Marlene slipped in like a late afternoon breeze, hair escaping its clip. You're awake, she said softly. Color looks good. She set a plastic cup of ice chips on my tray with ceremony. Gourmet. We chatted about ordinary things. The neighbor who plays trumpet at odd hours. The plant I keep underwatering. When Marlene stepped out to call my sister Rachel, my phone vibrated again. This time, a string of messages from Rachel herself, each one heavier than the last. M.O. Are you seeing this? Check Liam's Instagram. I'm sending screenshots. Don't open if it'll stress you. Against my better judgment, I opened them. The first was a selfie of Liam, eyes red, shot from the flattering low angle he uses for sincerity. Caption, they won't tell me if she's stable. Please pray for Mohini. Hashtag pray for Mo. The second was a screen recording of his story. Dim, somber lighting, his voice hushed. The hospital is giving me very vague responses. I'm reading between the lines, and I'm scared. A swipe-up link. Helping with Mohini's recovery costs. Every bit helps. To his PayPal. The third screenshot was a comments section in full bloom. Praying King, stay strong for her, sending $50 now. Love wins. Little heart emojis like confetti at a funeral no one died at. My mouth went dry in a different way. I tried a joke that didn't land even in my own head. At least he didn't pick a GoFundMe banner with balloons. Camille saw my face and held out her hand. I passed the phone. She scanned, and her brows lifted a millimeter. He asked me for vague, she murmured. I gave him standard. He turned standard into tragic. She put the phone down with surgical precision. We'll keep calls to the desk logged. What do I do? I asked, hating the smallness in my voice. You heal, she said simply. Truth has legs. It'll walk on its own. But truth on the internet doesn't walk. It sprints, trips, and sometimes jumps fences it shouldn't. By evening, my feed was an avalanche. Friends from college texting hearts, and you've got this, warrior. An acquaintance sent a voice note crying, I didn't know you were in critical condition. The word critical blossomed like mold. Marlene returned with a tiny paper bouquet from the gift shop. For your room, she said, tucking it into a plastic water cup near the window. She noticed my expression immediately. Show me. I handed her the phone. Her mouth tightened, the way a seam tightens before it tears. He took from people, she said softly. He took their pity and turned it into cash. Something in me wanted to defend him. Old muscle memory. He's stressed. He's confused. That reflex lifted and fell once, like a dying fish, then stilled. Do you need me to say the thing you already know? Marlene asked. I swallowed. Say it anyway. If a man can market your pain, he will market your healing. And if you let him, he'll market your forgiveness next. We listened to the hallway for a while. A child laughed somewhere. A monitor chirped. In the bed, I discovered an unfamiliar clarity, like a lens finally clicked into focus. At 7:04 p.m., Rachel sent another screenshot. Liam had gone live. Tears. Again. The caption, they're stonewalling me. Please pray harder. In the corner of the frame, a hotel lamp with a distinctive sculptural base. I recognized it from the Scottsdale retreat brochure Liam had left on our counter. Rachel's text. Is he in Arizona right now? I zoomed. The lamp was a dead giveaway. The betrayal wasn't new, only my vision was. A notification popped up from a user I didn't know. Why is he tagging location Scottsdale if you are in Austin? Another. Wait, didn't he post a spa story this afternoon? The internet had started doing what it does best, keeping receipts. Camille came in to check vitals, caught me squinting at the glare of my phone. You don't need that right now. I think I do, I said. I think I need to see. She hesitated, then nodded once. Then see clearly. I scrolled through comments, turning from syrup to acid in real time. If you're so worried, why aren't you there? Donation link. Serious? Clout over care. A thread appeared on Twitter compiling timestamps of Liam's posts against my surgery time. Someone posted a side-by-side of the Scottsdale Spa's eucalyptus wall with Liam's story background. The caption, Math isn't misogyny. In my room, the IV pump clicked again, steady as a metronome. Truth had found legs. Apparently it wore running shoes. Toward midnight, the ward quieted to a gentle machinery chorus. Marlene dozed in the visitor chair, open mystery novel face down on her chest. I watched her breathe, watched the delicate twitch of dreams in her eyelids. This woman had baked casseroles for neighbors whose names she barely knew. She had driven strangers to appointments when their children were busy. She had offered me the one thing Liam had effectively outsourced: presence. My chest lifted and fell, sore but clean. A nurse adjusted my blanket. A janitor's cart whispered past the door. Everything ordinary, honest, undramatic. No cameras. I opened my notes app and wrote a single sentence. When someone shows you their priorities, believe the math. The next morning, Camille walked in carrying her tablet and coffee. You're trending, she deadpanned, turning the screen to show me a local news page. Influencer under fire for Pray for Mohini. Donation drive while at luxury retreat. It was surreal seeing my name next to his saga, as if I were a character in a novel I hadn't consented to. Do you want me to handle calls? She asked. Yes, I said. I want to heal quietly. She nodded. Quiet is still allowed. As she left, I caught my reflection in the dark TV screen, hair matted, eyes rimmed in salt, and felt a steadiness that didn't belong to any audience. It was small and private, mine. My phone buzzed once more. A final text from Liam, clipped, urgent. Flying back early. Need to record something in the parking lot. Can we talk on camera? People want to see we're united. I stared at the message until the words separated into shapes and then into nothing. That was the moment the last filament snapped. A soundless break, like a spiderweb catching sunlight and then giving way. I turned off the phone. Mohini? Marlene blinked awake, voice scratchy with sleep. I'm okay, I said. And for the first time, the statement didn't feel like stubbornness. It felt like a decision. By Tuesday morning, my pain had dulled into something I could name. Manageable. But what hurt more was the noise. Not from the machines or nurses, but from the internet. My name was trending. My life, sliced open and served on a digital platter, surrounded by hashtags that felt like prayers with price tags. Pray for Mo, justice for Mohini, Leah the hero. I stared at the glowing screen, numb. Liam had posted another video, this time sitting in his car, the seatbelt cutting diagonally across his chest like a badge of sincerity. His voice was thick with practiced emotion. I've been outside this hospital for hours. They won't even let me see her. They won't confirm if she's alive. Alive. I blinked, then looked at Camille, who was changing my IV bag with calm precision. He's in the parking lot? I asked. She turned her head, expression unreadable. He's in a parking lot. What does that mean? Camille gestured toward the window with her chin. I followed her gaze to the courtyard below. Empty. That man's not here, she said. Not today. I frowned, refreshing the video. The frame behind him, a large stone fountain, palm trees swaying in desert wind. It hit me. That wasn't Austin. That was Arizona. The same background from his Elevate Men retreat promos. He's still there, I whispered. Camille's lips pressed into a thin line. People reveal themselves in the details. I thought about all the times Liam had told me to trust the narrative. Apparently, even lies needed storyboards. By noon, the comment sections had shifted tone. Someone had noticed the timestamp inconsistencies. Others compared his story backgrounds. The post started snowballing. Wait, that's not Texas. Isn't that the Scottsdale spa? He's monetizing his girlfriend's surgery from a luxury resort. Twitter exploded. Threads upon threads, receipts piling up like evidence in a courtroom, screenshots of his PayPal link, of his donation posts, of his spa content posted hours after he claimed to be waiting helplessly outside the hospital. Even people who had defended him began retracting. One comment under his video read, "You said she was in critical condition. She's sitting up eating Jell-O. Which part of this is healing energy and which part is fraud?" By evening, sponsors began dropping him. First a fitness brand, then 2 supplement companies. Within 24 hours, his follower count dropped by nearly 80,000. It should have felt satisfying, but it didn't. Watching someone unravel publicly when you've known their private cruelty, it doesn't feel like justice. It feels like déjà vu. Marlene arrived later with her tote bag and a soft smile. "You're famous," she teased, setting down a box of tea. "Infamous," I muttered. She looked at me carefully. "You okay?" "I think so. Just exhausted." She nodded knowingly. "Truth's heavy, sweetheart, even when it's on your side." The hospital staff started treating me like a local celebrity, some with sympathy, others with curiosity. One orderly whispered, "That's the girl from the video," as I passed in the hallway. I wanted to disappear. Later that night, Camille brought me her tablet again. "You might want to see this," she said, tapping play. It was a new video, Liam in a hotel hallway this time, eyes glistening under soft golden lighting. "The hospital refuses to let me in," he said hoarsely. "They're keeping us apart. I just want her to know I love her." I stared at the screen. "He's acting," I said flatly. "Of course he is," Camille replied. "He doesn't know another language." When the video ended, Camille added, "He tagged the wrong hospital this time. People noticed." I let out a short laugh that sounded more like a sob. "He always said reality was about perception." She met my gaze, and perception just turned on him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened my notes app again and started typing. Just small fragments, sentences that came from somewhere between logic and heartbreak. When you build your life around an audience, you start to forget what silence feels like. Love without privacy is performance. The opposite of loneliness isn't attention, it's presence. I didn't know it yet, but those lines would become the backbone of my healing months later. For now, they were just words trying to stitch the invisible wound. At dawn, I woke to find my window filled with light and chaos below. Reporters, local news vans, people with cameras standing near the hospital entrance pointing upward. For a moment, I panicked. Had someone leaked my room number? Camille entered with her morning coffee, peering out the window. Guess who finally decided to show up, she murmured. I looked down. There he was, Liam Carter, stepping out of a black SUV, his hair styled perfectly, two assistants trailing behind him with tripods. He wasn't visiting me, he was setting up a shot. I could almost hear his voice rehearsing. They wouldn't let me see her. I'm here now. I'll wait all night if I have to. Camille folded her arms. You want me to let the movie star in? I shook my head. No, let him stay in the lobby. Maybe the audience will applaud. By late afternoon, clips of his hospital confrontation video began circulating online, except this time, the comments weren't sympathetic. Someone matched the parking lot palm trees to a Scottsdale resort, again proving he had filmed before arriving in Austin. Another thread went viral. He staged his outside the hospital video while still in Arizona. That was the breaking point. The same people who'd prayed for him turned on him overnight. One tweet read, "He used her surgery as a backdrop for his redemption arc. What a masterpiece of narcissism." Another, "Imagine being this girl, recovering while he live streams your life like it's a marketing campaign." And then the one that cut deepest, "Mohini doesn't need prayers. She needs peace." I put the phone down and exhaled slowly. Outside, the sunset painted the sky a muted orange, the same color as the hospital walls. I realized I hadn't thought about Liam's face in hours, and it felt light. Marlene was sitting in the chair by my bed, knitting something in a soft shade of gray. "What color is that?" I asked. "Smoke," she said. "It's what's left after fire." I smiled faintly. "That feels about right." She glanced up. "You're not thinking about him, are you?" I hesitated. "No, not anymore. I'm thinking about how silence is underrated." Her knitting needles clicked rhythmically. "Silence is just truth catching its breath, honey." For the first time in days, I laughed, a small, real sound. Camille walked in for one last vitals check. "Looks like you'll be discharged soon. Body's healing faster than expected." "Maybe clarity helps," I said. "Clarity's better than antibiotics," she replied with a wink. That night, as I stared at the faint hospital light reflecting off the window, I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. Not because what Liam did was forgivable, it wasn't, but because I finally saw the truth of who he was. And the truth doesn't deserve rage, it deserves distance. When I turned off my phone that night, the silence wasn't heavy, it was peaceful. For the first time in a long while, I felt like the main character of my own story, no camera required. 2 days later, I was cleared for discharge. The doctor smiled, said the word recovery like a promise. I changed into my clothes slowly, each movement a quiet victory. Marlene folded my things neatly into a tote bag. Camille came by for one last check, her expression softer than usual. "Feels strange leaving?" she asked. "Feels like waking up," I said. She nodded. "Then you're ready." We were halfway down the hallway when Camille's pager buzzed. She checked it, frowned, then glanced at me. "Heads up, there's a small circus downstairs." "What kind of circus?" "The kind with cameras." I didn't understand until the elevator doors opened to the lobby. There he was, Liam Carter, standing in a sunbeam like he'd been waiting for his spotlight. Dressed in a cream linen shirt, sleeves rolled up, clutching a bouquet of white lilies. 2 assistants hovered behind him, one holding a DSLR, the other a ring light. He saw me and instantly stepped forward, voice warm and trembling, the way actors speak when they know the cameras are rolling. "Mo, oh my God, you look so pale. I was so worried." I stared at the lilies. "Really? Between your flight connections?" He blinked. His smile faltered, just slightly. "Can we talk? Maybe by the entrance? People need to see we're okay." I tilted my head. "People?" He gestured vaguely at his assistant. "Just one quick video. It's important. They've been tearing me apart online. They need to hear your side." "My side?" I repeated. "Yes," he said earnestly, stepping closer. "Tell them we're fine, that we love each other, that the internet twisted everything." Behind him, one of the assistants mouthed, "Rolling." I looked at Camille, who stood a few feet away with a clipboard and the faintest smirk. "You want me to stop this?" she murmured. "No," I said quietly. Let him have his scene. Liam adjusted his shirt, smiled at the lens. "Okay," he said. "Action." I turned to him and spoke clearly, without trembling. "Liam, you brought a camera to film my discharge." The assistant hesitated, glancing up, unsure whether to keep recording. Liam laughed weakly. "It's just people want closure. They care." "Closure?" I echoed. "Or clicks?" His jaw tightened. "You're still angry. I get it. But if you could just say something that saves your brand?" That landed. His face flickered. "Mo, this isn't fair." "No," I said. "It's finally fair. and I walked past him toward the glass doors. Behind me, I heard Rachel, who had come to pick me up, say to one of his assistants, "Did you get the shot?" The elevator chimed. I didn't look back. By evening, the internet had already moved on from outrage to fascination. The clip someone recorded of our reunion went viral, not because of what Liam said, but because of what he didn't. The silence after my question hung heavier than any apology. By Wednesday morning, the headline read, "Influencer Liam Carter's girlfriend walks out mid-video. Say something that saves your brand." His sponsors cut ties officially that day. 3 in one afternoon. That evening, I opened my phone one last time to find his latest upload, My Truth About Pray for Mo. The thumbnail showed him, eyes red, a text overlay. I was silenced. He started with, "There's been a lot of misinformation. I was just trying to share my pain, not profit from it. People villainize successful men." I stopped watching. The comments said everything. "No one silenced you. We just stopped believing you. You filmed her discharge. That's not love. Bro, you turned empathy into engagement." And my favorite, posted by Camille herself, somehow verified now, thanks to viral fame. Patient was resting and receiving standard care. He turned routine updates into a tragedy. The internet crowned her Saint Camille within hours. I shut off my phone and didn't turn it on again for 2 weeks. Marlene let me stay in her spare room while I found a place. It was small, with pale green curtains and a view of a lemon tree. She brewed chamomile tea every night and told me stories about the patients she'd cared for long before retirement. She never asked about Liam, not once. She just handed me warmth in quiet doses until I could hold it myself. Eventually, I found a tiny guest house for rent near her building, a one-room cottage with creaky floors, a small garden, and the kind of silence that feels earned. When I moved in, Marlene showed up with muffins and said, "You're officially upgraded from neighbor to friend with baked goods." I smiled for real this time. Each morning, I'd wake early, open the window, and breathe in the stillness. No ring lights, no sound checks, just birds and wind and space that belong to me. For a while, I still checked Liam's page out of curiosity. I told myself it was closure, but really it was disbelief, wanting to see how low he could sink. His follower count dropped by half. His truth video was ratioed into oblivion. The man who used to preach about resilience and optics now posted crystal healing quotes under muted comment sections. The irony wasn't lost on me. He had spent years telling people to manifest their reality. He manifested his own downfall. A few weeks after I moved in, I stopped by the hospital with a small bouquet for Camille. "For being the voice of reason when I couldn't find mine," I told her. She grinned. "I just answered the phone, kid." "No," I said. "You told me to see clearly. That's more than most people ever do." She patted my shoulder. "So, what now?" "I think I'm done performing," I said. Camille nodded, almost proud. "Good. Real life doesn't need an audience." That night, I sat on the porch of my new home, sipping tea under the glow of a soft lamp. I scrolled through my journal entries from the hospital, those scattered fragments I'd written between morphine dreams. Love without privacy is performance. Truth has legs. Silence is just truth catching its breath. I read them aloud softly to myself, like vows. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was watching my own life through someone else's camera. I was just living it. 6 months later, my scar had faded to a pale silver line, a quiet reminder that healing doesn't need to announce itself. Life now runs at a different pace. No notifications screaming for attention. No ring lights humming in the background. Just the rhythm of small, ordinary miracles. The kettle clicking off. The sound of Charlie's paws on the kitchen floor. The whisper of wind through the lemon tree outside my window. Yes, Charlie. A rescue mutt with one floppy ear and a tail that seems permanently confused about which direction to wag. Marlene found him at the shelter. "He's chaos in a fur coat," she'd said. "Perfect for you." He was. Marlene still visits every few days with muffins or leftover soup. She never talks about Liam, and I never bring him up. But sometimes, when she looks at me for a moment too long and smiles that quiet, knowing smile, I know she's proud. I started volunteering at the same hospital where I had my surgery. Once a week, I read stories to kids in the pediatric ward. The first time I walked back through those glass doors, I half expected the ghosts of those awful days to rise up around me. Instead, it felt like walking into light. Camilo still works there, brisk and unshakable as ever. She caught me by surprise in the hallway one morning and said, "Well, if it isn't my favorite viral patient." I laughed. "Please don't call me that." "You'll always be my favorite scandal," she teased. Then her face softened. "You look happy, Mo." "I am," I admitted. "Peaceful, even." She grinned. "Peace looks good on you." "It does." A few weeks ago, I saw him again. It was completely by accident, at a small bookstore downtown. I ducked inside to avoid the rain, and there he was, standing near the self-help section, signing copies of his new book. The cover showed his face lit softly against a white background. The title, Rise Again, Turning Hate into Healing. I almost laughed out loud. He looked smaller somehow, not just physically, but in spirit. The swagger was gone. The light that used to follow him everywhere was replaced by the dim hum of survival. He noticed me. His expression flickered between surprise and guilt. Then he started walking over. "Mohini," he said quietly. "Wow, you look good." I nodded. "So do you." He smiled weakly. "I never meant for things to go the way they did." "I know," I said simply. He hesitated. "I lost a lot after that. Sponsors, friends, my whole team." "I lost something too," I replied, "but I found better things to fill the space." He swallowed hard. "You're not angry anymore?" "No," I said, "I just don't carry it." He exhaled. "That's good." I smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't need to be seen by anyone else. "I hope you're doing well, Liam." And then I turned and walked out into the rain. It didn't feel cinematic, it just felt real. Back home, I towel-dried Charlie and made tea. The rain tapped gently against the windows, steady, forgiving. I thought about something Marlene once said. Forgiveness isn't about giving someone a free pass. It's about reclaiming the energy you wasted hoping they'd be different. She was right. I no longer check Liam's social media, though sometimes, by accident, I see clips floating around. Him selling online courses about resilience and authentic leadership. His voice is softer now, almost apologetic. The audience that once worshipped him has mostly moved on. But I don't hate him, not anymore. Because hating him would mean dragging him with me into every new chapter, and I've worked too hard to travel light. One evening, at the hospital's volunteer lounge, I met someone new. Her name was Sarah Nguyen, a social worker who organizes art sessions for the kids. She has warm brown eyes and the kind of smile that doesn't ask for attention. It just arrives quietly, like sunlight through curtains. After our first shift together, we shared coffee at the little cafe across the street. The conversation felt effortless. She asked about my scar, and when I told her what happened, she didn't flinch or offer pity. She just said, "Does it still hurt?" "Not anymore," I said. She nodded. "Good. Then it did its job." I laughed. "You mean scarring?" "No," she said softly. "Healing." There was no performance in her tone, no camera-ready empathy, just presence. The kind of presence that stays. Sometimes late at night, I think back to that moment in the hospital when they asked for my emergency contact. How my hand hesitated over the form before writing down Marlene's name instead of Liam's. It wasn't just a practical choice, it was a prophecy. Because our hands often know truths our hearts aren't ready to face. Now, when people online still ask what really happened, when journalists message me about telling my side, I always decline. Not because I'm hiding, but because I've already told the story that matters. The one that doesn't end with revenge or scandal. The one that ends with peace. Some nights, I sit outside on my porch with Charlie at my feet, listening to the wind play with the lemon tree leaves. I think about how small the world feels when you stop performing for it, and I whisper to myself, softly, so no one can mistake it for content. Turns out I was never broken, just miscast in someone else's show. The sky above Austin stretches wide and blue, clean after the rain. No cameras, no audience, just life.